We are back for round 2 once again when it comes to the elephant in the room at the moment with Arknights Endfield, and that is the gacha is what we're talking about today. I did want to do a couple of other videos first, but I thought, you know what? Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's freaking out about it. So let's have a conversation about the gacha itself. I do want to make a video talking about exploration in the game because I've got so many things to say about it, and most of them are positive. And I also want to make a video talking about some pros and cons around the game in general. And I also need to get further into the game to talk about some other stuff. But today, let's talk about the elephant in the room. That is the gacha. I am not here to tell you in this video whether it's a better or a worse gacha system for you, because I think at the end of the day, better is subjective to what you believe is better. But if what you believe makes a gacha system better is based around pity and pity carrying over in regards to your guarantees and such like that, this is not going to be a good gacha system for you. Okay, I'm just going to tell you that now. If pity matters more than overall pull value, then this is not the game for you. Okay, I just want to get that out there. Again, I'm not saying whether this is better or worse, but I want to talk about the actual pull value in this video. And if pity is like the core of what makes a gacha system good to you, you're going to have an issue with the guarantee pity, because guarantee pity doesn't carry over. The way you need to look at the pity or the guarantee within this game is kind of like a spark. It's a spark system, right? The 50-50 guarantee, pity, carries over into the next banner, but that spark 120, the guarantee does not. If that's a problem for you, this might not be the gacha for you, okay? I just want to get that out there. I also want to add another thing as well, because a lot of people keep saying it's exactly like Stellasora, and everybody hated Stellasora. Well, for one, it's not exactly like Stellasora. For one particularly important part, which is one of the massive factors of what makes this system so good, and that is the Arsenal tickets, which we're going to get into as well. But I just want to say, it's not like Stellasora in that regard. And anyway, a lot of people who were frustrated and annoyed about Stellasora's system, it wasn't really specifically about the gacha. Maybe some people it was, but it wasn't really about the gacha. It was about beta to launch changes in the pull currency costs and things not necessarily moving with it, and a lot of people feeling the game is incredibly stingy in its pull economy. Because I want to add this as well. You can have the best gacha system in the world. If the game is stingy in what it gives you pull-wise, that system doesn't matter anymore. The only way that system matters is to people who are just going to be spending, and you take away the pull currency in a sense, right? And you look at it in the value of monetary cost value, then it's a good system. But if you've got the worst system in the world and the game throws pulls at you, it's not a bad system, right? Because you're able to get what you want out of it because the game is throwing pulls at you like candy. So I just want to add that as well. It's not like Stellasora, okay? It doesn't have a guarantee pity over. So if pity's an issue, this is not the system for you. But let's talk about what I believe is a better value gacha system than something like Wuthering Waves and something like Genshin Impact, because that's the ones everybody's comparing it to, right? A lot of people within the Wuthering Waves space are saying this is the worst gacha system ever, like they did before, because the spark, the guarantee pity doesn't carry over. I disagree personally, because I think there's more value within your pulls here. So to guarantee your character, it's 120 pulls instead of 160 in something like Wuthering Waves, right? So you hit a 50-50 pity, hard pity at 80, which will trigger a 50-50, and there's a chance to get the character as a rate-up character for the banner, or a 50-50 loss. Then it's 120 pulls, so an extra 40 pulls to guarantee to spark the on-banner character. Now, you could potentially lose a 50-50 at 30 pulls, 60 pulls, and 80 pulls, and then go on to 120 and guarantee the character. That is a fact. This idea of infinite losses, it's a ridiculous statement, because even if you lost a 50-50 every single pull up to 120, that'll be 119 losses, so which is never going to happen, right? But it's not infinite anyway, so people keep throwing that word around like it means something. It doesn't. Most likely, even on a crazy run, you're probably going to maybe lose 2, maybe, before you guarantee the character. But that being said, you're going to be able to guarantee your character 40 pulls earlier than something like Wuthering Waves. Now, the guarantee, as I said, doesn't carry over. So if you get to 115 pulls, you start again on the next banner to spark your character. It's 120 pulls once again. So if that's a problem, then it's a bad system, right? So let's talk about why I think it's a better system in regards to value for pulls. One, it takes 120 to guarantee the character. So, if we talk max pot, losing all your 50-50s, going to hard pity for both Wuthering Waves and Arknights Endfield, we're looking at 1,120 pulls for Wuthering Waves. So that's 160 pulls, losing all your 50-50s for 7 copies. That's your initial copy, plus your what is it, S6, I think it is in We're right? That's 1,120 copies at 120 pulls. Editing pixel here, I just wanted to add in as well, when we're taking the total number of pulls for max pot characters, we have to take into account the 2 copies in the store for Wuthering Waves, okay? I just want to add in there. As the weapon system in Endfield drastically makes those pulls more valuable, that system in Wuthering Waves does increase the value of your copies and your pulls within Wuthering Waves also. So I just wanted to add that in there, as I forgot to say it in the video. But in terms of raw pulls, those numbers still kind of count. Although, as I say, you're going to be getting your copies from the store, right? More than likely. So, yeah, I wanted to add that in there as well. Anyway, all right, back to the video. In Arknights, it's 1,200 because there's only 5 copies in this game. So your initial one, you get it 120, and then you get a token every 240 pulls. So 120, 240, and then 240 on from there. So it's a little bit more pulls for Endfield, right? Which you might be going, okay, I thought you were telling me that it's a better system here. Well, for your initial one, better value. It just straight is. If you're looking at it in terms of raw pulls, it's better value, right? Pity? Okay. But if we then break that down into the fact that the one crucial factor of this game that makes it stand up and really turns this system that might look really bad on the surface into a pretty dope system, which everybody likes to keep ignoring. They keep talking about the character gacha and ignoring the Arsenal tickets, because if you're talking about value, this makes it shoot up, right? And that is the fact that for every pull you do, you get Arsenal tickets. That's 20 for a 4-star. That's 200 for a 5-star, and that's 2,000 for a 6-star. So let's say that you have the worst potential luck on the run up to that 120. So that's getting 1 5-star every 10 pulls, 9 4-stars, and then getting your 50-50 loss at 80, and then going to 120 hard maximum pulls, right? You have to go through the whole 120 at the worst possible. That's going to give you 8,560 Arsenal tickets, which is going to guarantee you a 6-star weapon. That's at the worst possible rates. That's not including stuff you can get in game as well. That's just straight from pulling. So within 120 pulls, you're going to get 2 6-stars, worst case scenario. And then you're also going to get a 6-star weapon as well, okay? So if you go into the worst case scenario on Wuthering Waves, you've got your guarantee, you've got your character, and your 50-50 loss. Now you've got to go and run the gambit and get another 80 pulls for your weapon. If we go in hard pity, it's going to take you to 240 pulls. So it's literally just better in the terms of raw pulling numbers in Endfield than it is to Wuthering Waves, okay? This is why I'm saying, this isn't me saying it's a better system or a worse system. That's up to you to decide. If pity is the most important thing, which I think the idea of chasing pity and building pity in gacha games is kind of a bad way to play them, because you are literally just gambling then, and then every other one, you got your guarantee. Well, I'm building up pity for the next banner. If I can't get the character I want, I'll build up pity on the next banner, or I'll save it until it's a banner that comes up the right. Okay, fair play. That's showing a bit of restraint, right? You know? I'm not going to pull on the next banner because I'm not interested. I'll wait until a good character comes up and I'll use the pity I've built up and I'll get the character a little bit cheaper. Restraint really does you a lot of good in this game as well, because as long as you've got the 120 pulls, you're getting the character and you're getting a 6-star weapon. Now, if you decide to go and get max pot characters, you're going to have a ridiculous amount of Arsenal tickets. It's going to be able to get the weapon you want, plus a couple of copies and a couple of copies of some other weapons as well. You also can buy weapons directly in the store using the Arsenal tickets also. So the fact that the pulls just offer so much more value in less pulls in total to get the first copy of your character and giving you free weapon pulls as well. It is just a more valuable system. That's if we look at it in the vacuum of just the gacha, right? Now, we do have to take into account the post-launch economy. As I said, it was the thing with Celesora for me that not only with expensive packs coupled with a pretty poor economy, in my opinion, it felt like that anyway, it made it feel a bit of a trudge through the mud, basically. We don't know what the economy is going to be like in this game. It might be terrible. And I'll be back here day one saying, okay, this sucks. This is really difficult to get pulls, and this is going to feel really bad. We don't know that, right? Arknights does a really good job at that. Will they translate it over here? Who knows? We just don't know. The early parts of the beta feels a little bit stingy. I don't know what it's like later parts. Arknights offers some really good ways to earn currency in the game, especially through things like Annihilation, just playing the game in general. Events are really good for that sort of stuff as well, along with welfare units, all that jazz, right? Along with your logins and stuff like that. We just don't know yet. I don't know anyway, because I haven't got to those parts of the game. Somebody who's got there can tell me, how does it feel currency-wise? And even anyway, we can't say for a fact until the game launches. It might change from the beta to the launch. We saw that happen before with Celasora, right? It could happen here. That being said, if we look at it from a literal, in a vacuum, this system gives you better value for your pulls. It just does. Now, if you need to build pity and then decide, I'm not going to try and go for the guarantee because I know I can't, I'll take that pity into the next banner and I'll get a guarantee on another banner. Okay, cool. But I still think you're missing out on the character you initially wanted. So either way, you're going to miss out on the character if you run the gauntlet of not having enough pulls. Just because you got pity to then get a cheaper banner on the next one. It's a safety net, but it's a safety net for people who are just pissing into the breeze, if you ask me. I've saw people saying, you know, people like to do that. They like to run the gauntlet and run up the pity, and hopefully they get the character and they're dipped to pity in. So on the next banner, they're a little bit in a better position and all that sort of stuff. And hope that they win the 50-50 instead. But also, people like to smoke crack. It's not a thing I'd suggest to do, personally, right? Again, I'm not saying for you this is a better or a worse system. I'm seeing plenty of people saying, no pity carrying over, not for me. Hey, fine. But if we're going to talk about raw value, this gives you more value per pull than a game like Wuthering Waves and a game like Genshin Impact. You are going to get more characters. If you are sensible with your pulls. I know everybody used to like to rag on Mr. Pokey, right? In the greedy and stupid comment, I think it was, or whatever it was. Which, it is fun to me, money. But when it comes to gacha, you can either be played by the system or you can attempt to play the system right. And making sure you've got enough pulls for a character you want, I don't think is this ridiculous expectation of a free-to-play player. You are not going to get every character in a gacha game. Unless you are super lucky, which we know, by the law of averages, most of us are going to fail 50-50s here and there, and if you keep trying to build pity, you're going to constantly be relying on that safety net on a banner down the road and still missing out on the characters that you wanted first time and relying on reruns. It's going to be the same sort of situation here, but the game is telling you up front, if you have the pulls here, this is cheaper than those other games, and we're going to throw the weapon in as well for you. As I say, if you go deep, this game kind of wants you, like, you get rewarded for going deeper into the actual banner pools because you're gaining more weapon arsenal tickets. And as I say, the 8,560 is on the worst possible pools, right? You fail your 50-50 at 80, you get the character at 120. Every single 10 pool is one 5-star. Now, we know that there's a chance to get a couple on some, multiple on others. Maybe you hit a 6-star at 30 pulls, you hit a 6-star at 80 pulls, and then you get your 120. Then you're talking a lot more, and you're probably more in a position to be potentially getting the 6-star on banner as well. So coming out with potentially maybe 2 6-stars and maybe 3 6-star characters for 120 pulls. If you tell me that as raw numbers, that sounds like a good deal to me. Again, if it's all about pity and building pity, it's a bad system. But I am not too bothered about building pity. I'm going to pull on the banners that I want to pull on, and I'm going to know the banners that I'm going to be coming up, and I'm going to be prepping for those banners. And then if I decide to spend a bit of money here and there, I'll be there to do it. Now, let me speak about a part of the game that I do think needs to be improved, and that is the monthly pass. It looks like we're looking at about 13 pulls a month, I think. That should be like 18, 19. So somebody worked it out. I don't know if this math is exact. I haven't really double checked it myself, but if you take the login bonus, you take the second battle pass bonus, the one that you can buy, like roll it over from the currency in the pass, and your logins, you're looking at about 25.2 pulls or something like that. I think it should be about 32, if I'm honest. Give me an extra 7 pulls, and I'd be happy with that. And then the patch pulls that you can gain through the patch, hopefully if it's good, you're looking at maybe like 70 pulls or something like that. 60 pulls, get you to soft pity, 70 pulls maybe, and that to me is fine. Now they've introduced the dossier system as well, which I actually think is a good system. I think it's a good little system. A lot of people are saying it's a bad system because it doesn't open up for the banner you're on. So let me just explain it. Once you hit 60 pulls on a banner, you unlock a dossier. That dossier then stays as a dossier until the banner you're on expires, and then it opens up to be worth 10 pulls. So in a roundabout way, it's giving you pity onto the next banner. It's giving you 10 pity onto the next banner, which everybody keeps saying pity's so important, but they really don't like that now because they want it to work on the banner that you're already on, which how many games give you an extra 10 pulls for just doing pulls? Not many, right? So this is giving you an extra 10 pulls. It's just, you've got to wait till the next banner and you have to use it on that banner. It is FOMO inducing. Let's not pretend all these games aren't doing that. The funny thing to me is that with this system now, all of a sudden, the casino is a problem, right? Again, I'll go back to Stellasora. The casino rules, or the casino game, the table we're playing on, wasn't the problem. It's they decided to change the rules on the fly. And then it was a little bit stingy, or it felt a little bit stingy, right? That was the problem with Stellasora for me. And then people are here going, well, it's exactly the same. Well, it's not, because the Arsenal system is unique to this game and really separates it from your Zenless Zone Zeros, your Wuthering Waves, your Genshin Impacts, your Honkai Star Rails, and even your Stellasoras, right? You're getting totally different rewards. The value is higher. But if you place value on pity, this is fundamentally a worse system. And when I say pity, I'm talking about the spark pity, the 120 pity, the hard pity, the guaranteed pity. That 80 pity carries over, right? So let's say you hit 120 pulls, you got your 50-50, you lost it, you get your 120 spark, and then you decide to go a little bit deeper, right? You're now 40 pulls into your 80 pity. So at 160, you can trigger again, right? Say you go a little bit more, right? You then have that pity built up, and if you decide to leave it there, that's built up into the next banner, okay? As far as I'm aware, right? I do admit, this system is a little bit more convoluted. There's no denying it, because your first character you get at 120, and then the second is a further 120, then it's 240, 240, 240. So copies are all at 240, but the first one is at 120. And then obviously you introduce the weapon system, the dossier, the one version of pity, and then the spark system. It confuses a lot of people, but if you actually take the time to read it, at least for the first version of the character, it's not hard to understand, if you ask me. After that, it does start to get a little bit murky, I'm not going to lie. Even I admit that. But most people who are going to take issue, I guess, with potentially pity carrying over, are going to be your low spenders, are going to be your free-to-play players, because they're going to rely on it. Whales aren't. They're going to buy what they need to get, max spot a character, wait for the next banner, and do it all again, right? That little bit of pity for them isn't going to change the game for them. So this is affecting your low spenders and your free-to-play players, which, for me, it's not a big deal because of the Arsenal system and the fact that it's going to cost me 40 less pulls to get the character. And I'm just going to pull on the banners that I want, and then if I'm short, I'll spend if I need to, if I really want it. Or I'm going to try and make sure I've got the pulls for the banners I want. And if I get lucky and I win the 50-50, buzzing, right? I'll wait for the next banner. And, you know, maybe I'll do it at 60 pulls and I'm 60 in my pity. And hey, presto, we're rolling good for the next banner. It's just you've not got the guarantee. There is that removal of the safety net that if you're silly, right, and you keep going so many pulls in, you could constantly always be on a 50-50. That is a fact. But the game's explaining to you that up front. If you do that, you're going to be on the losing end of the system. It's not like it's hiding this from you. And I do think sometimes people are too much like, well, casual gamers won't get it. They'll just spiff it up the wall. I think people disrespect casual gamers. They're the stupid ones. If anything, that's just people who maybe play the game a little bit more relaxed and don't worry about the extra bit of crit rate and completing every freaking bit of endgame and logging in every day. It doesn't mean they don't understand the systems, right? We act like they're not savvy. If anything, it's the free-to-play grinders who tend to be a little bit more silly with the pulls because they're hooked on the pity. Well, let me build it up. Let me throw a temple here, a temple there. It's all right. If it don't work, I've got it for the next banner. Let's hope. Oh, I'll do another temple. And then next thing you know, they burnt all the currency because they was chasing that dragon, hoping they was just getting there. And then they didn't get the character they wanted. But it's okay. You got pity for the next banner. I don't fundamentally see that as a better system. But as I say, I'm not here to tell you whether it's a better system. I'm just here to tell you that value-wise, pull to get your characters, this is a better system. You are going to get more characters for less pulls, and you're going to get way more weapons as well, because you're not having to burn all your pulls on your characters, then use your weapon pulls, right? Or potentially take your currency and split it and be like, right, I've got just enough to guarantee the character, and then I'm left with like 30, 40 pulls. Hopefully I'll get super lucky and I'll hit the guarantee on something like Wuthering Waves super early, or on another game, run the gambit again, if you're back on a 50-50 or a 25-75 or a 75-25. Do you know what I mean? This is why I say I don't get too bogged down on that, because the systems surrounding it kind of wipe away that negative for me. That's my personal take anyway. I don't see the gacha as the worst system ever, right? I'm seeing so many people repeating that argument again, and it's all just based down on the pity. That is it. Because if you take that away, it absolutely destroys the other systems for value. Even with it there, it's still a better value system. But if you're going to be silly with your pulls, then you could be in a position of fucking yourself. You can cook yourself. But you can kind of still do that anyway with gacha games, right? Obviously, you got your guarantee to fall back on, but you're just going to be missing out on the banners you really want to get if you're not in the point of like, I've got enough pulls for this, right? You are relying on the guarantee and waiting for another banner that comes up and be like, well, sweet, it was worth it on that other banner. I missed out on the character, but I can get this character instead. Which, if that's how you like it, fine. It's a good system for you for things like Wuthering Waves, and this is a bad system. But as I say, I think for raw value, I think this is just a clearly better system. Less pulls for characters, weapons as well. You know, that addition to the dossier, it's great. You know, getting a copy every 240 pulls, but still having the 50-50s along the way. The amount of Arsenal tickets you can stack, actually crazy, right? So, like, if you decided there was a character you wanted, like some people do, and they want to max pop those characters, the Arsenal tickets you're going to have for banners afterwards is crazy. So, I do think this is a thing that people really need to talk about. The Arsenal ticket system changes the game. Now, if you had to do weapon pulls separate, and it was like WoW, and it was like Genshin, this system would fucking blow, in my opinion, right? But it doesn't. It kind of takes on what Arknights does, because you don't have weapons in Arknights. You kind of almost, now, you do have them, but you don't have them, if that makes sense, because they're free, in a sense. Every pull gets you a pull back kind of thing. And as I say, worst possible outcome on the run to a character, you get in a 6-star weapon. I think that's a pretty good deal. I think that's a pretty good deal, personally. But again, it's all about pity for you. Bad system. It's a bad system. I can't deny that. Again, I'm not here to tell you what's the better system. I think this is a more valuable system. That's my opinion. I'd love to know what you think down below, guys. Give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you all in the next one. Ta-ra.